Hey there guys, it's Metro, and today we're making a video about the top 5 reasons you should want to push yourself further in World of Warcraft. I'm talking about doing things like Mythic raiding instead of LFR, and doing Mythic plus 15 dungeons instead of just queuing for a Heroic dungeon. These are reasons that you'll want to play the game more successfully and make friendships and play the content the way it's meant to be at the highest level possible. You may ask, who is this video targeted for? This video is all about helping players expand their interest in the video game. So we're talking about people who have never done Mythic raiding weekly with a guild. We're talking about people who would buy a challenge mode boost or just simply never do them instead of obtaining the rewards that are now gone from the game. We're talking about anyone who has friends who they think are inherently better at the game than them and that they're always going to be so. We'll talk about a few reasons, a few rewards, some of the best ones for wanting to play this way, and then at the end we'll give a brief summary about why, when you do, it's such an enriching experience. So number 5 on the list is, of course, gear. This should be the basic motivation for anyone who plays World of Warcraft. Everyone understands gear is good, but there's a few things to consider past that. Good gear actually allows you to do more content in the game much easier. So for example, you'll see the soloing a dungeon, right? That requires gear and, of course, skill. So both of these topics. And allows you to continue to push yourself in more content. Like, for example, the more gear I get, the more things I can try to solo, or the better I can do in the Brawlers Guild, or the easier I can grind out the Xiaohao rep, stuff like that. Things that the more gear you have, the better your character feels, the stronger he is, and the more things you can do. Also, certain types of gear are what actually allow you to progress even more rapidly, like certain trinkets or set bonuses or things like that. And of course, getting gear weekly means your power level is increasing weekly, and that alone should be enough of a marked visible progression that should be rewarding for any player, because by the end of the tier your character has likely nearly doubled the stats he had prior. So whenever you see somebody out in the world, or you're doing content that requires little gear but a lot of gear helps, you just feel a lot stronger and a lot more accomplished. Number 4 on the list is achievement points and other status symbols like mounts or maybe even pets, or even a select piece of gear or two, like say like a mythic warforged Archimon trinket. That looks really cool to have. Yeah, the main reason that this is a great incentive is because it's integrated into the entire game. So I think a lot of people, that when they see achievement points, they understand exactly just what that means. The more achievement points you have, the more you've played, and to some degree, it's kind of just like a baseline to how little you've actually done in the game if you have too few. So like, for example, if I saw somebody with less than 10k achievement points during Legion, I would expect that they had not played the game in multiple expansions, if not probably since ever. And then, if you see somebody with 20k achievement points, you're like, all right, this guy's played the game. He either played it super seriously through MOP, or he played it pretty seriously through Legions. I think that's an important way to tell about what type of player you're encountering. And I think a lot of people would they would look at an achievement point number and say like, oh, this isn't relevant to me. But once you start realizing how many achievement points and different types of status symbols like mounts and stuff there are from raids, you're actually going to be really surprised, because every raid has the heroic achievements, has the end wing achievements just on regular difficulties, and then of course it has the meta achievements which give the mount. So these are things that I would say are some baseline, this in gear. I feel like these are kind of like the more materialistic reasons that you should want to raid and want to do mythics. Same with challenge modes, had the weapons and the mount and all those things. Like, you should want to get those. You're playing World of Warcraft, getting gear and getting cool mounts and stuff like that, and achievement points. These are reasons to enjoy the game and to play it. Number 3 on the list is that coordination and leadership in these game situations can actually help you out a lot in real life. I found myself learning a lot about team building and coordination and different types of social experiments within those topics. And the more serious you get, the more you'll realize that this basic coordination goes a long way. And like I said, this can be extrapolated to the real world. Everybody thinks like, oh, I could do this, I could manage this project, I could start this small business, I could run these forums, I could moderate, whatever. I can do anything I want. But then, you need to learn lessons in order to do it well. So it's the same way in a game. You'll learn a lot about yourself and about others and about how to treat others and all that. And you'll also enjoy success based on these lessons and this coordination. The more you overcome difficult content with these things happening, the more you see like, oh, wow, that clutch heal or that clutch coordination based, whatever, somebody soaked a mechanic, impromptu, something like that. You're really going to find that this is fun and this is the way the game was meant to be played. Finding people in LFR and everyone just doing their own thing is, yeah, it's just kind of becomes counterproductive once you get into this mindset. Number 2 on this list is that competition within groups of adults is actually a really healthy thing for your mental mindset. And I think anyone who has studied human behavior before will agree with that. When you have a goal, you have some reason to be playing the game or doing your daily routine in real life, stuff like that. When you have a goal, you push yourself naturally. Like it's just without effort. You don't even think about it. You don't feel like it's a grind. You want to improve. You want to do your best. You want to play the game properly. And if you don't have that level of competition within your group or within your own mind, then you're kind of just lethargic. You're kind of just sitting there, not really doing anything. And I think that's a big problem in World of Warcraft as well. You'll find yourself that, the game is boring to you now, when it used to not be boring. But really, all you've done is exhausted your mental library of interest. It's time to learn and push yourself further. This is something that a lot of people don't do in this game, and it's really sad because the game gives so many different types of players the affordability that they need. They give different gear catch-ups, they give different levels of content. You can start with normal, work your way up, etc. When the game launched, all there was leveling and raiding, and that's it, guys. So you have been given every privilege that the game can offer, and people still just don't want it. They don't actually care about it. They don't care to expand their own interests. They don't try new things in the game. And then the worst about it is when they don't try new things, and then they sit there and say, oh, the game's too easy, you know what I mean? Or there's nothing for me to do. Well, I promise you guys, if you find yourself in a competitive mindset, and especially competing with other people within your guild, or even just competing against the content you're downing, you are going to find so much more pleasure in the game, so much more adulation, so much more relief when you finally kill bosses. These things, this is what it's all about. It's a very good mental situation to be in. Find yourself progressing and learning and growing as a human, as well as a player in a video game. You'll also find really cool things like benchmarks where you set yourself early on. It's like, man, I really hope that I can just someday, top the charts on a mythic progression, or, something like that. I really hope I can just complete 13 of 13 mythic, etc. And then once you do it, you're going to look back at your previous self and it's like, man, how was I can't believe I was ever in that position where this was my goal and now I'm here. So I think anybody who has studied human behavior before will agree that this is a really important part of human development and psychological nature. So not doing this in a game that you're paying to play, yeah, it just seems really backwards to me. Number 1 on the list is you will create friendships that last a lifetime. I promise you guys this. You will create the strongest friendships you'll ever have in any type of online social situation when you do difficult content together. The strongest bonds that you can form are always forged under duress, guys. Remember that, because it's the truth, all right? Even in real life, people who are on sports teams together or other, high profile, high difficulty business concepts always form these strong relationships with teammates, stuff like that. And that is because you're pushed together so fiercely that you have to work together and you have to find common ground with each other. It has to be done. And once you find this within the game, you'll understand exactly what I'm talking about, because you'll quickly find the people that you enjoy raiding with will become closer and closer the more difficult obstacles you overcome. The more you fight bosses together, the more you realize, man, this guy is such an asset to our group. Man, this guy really helps us kill this boss. Man, this guy here, he's a really nice guy and he's willing to, take a hit every once in a while to help others play better, stuff like that. You're going to find a lot of really great features about your friends that you would never normally look for in a normal situation. Like when you sit around talking about sports, you don't learn much about the person. You learn about their interests, but you don't learn about their nature. And that's something that only comes out under duress. When you're in a stressful situation, you can tell like who's a snapcase, who's going to scream, who's going to be quick to quit, who's going to have the low attention span that they're not serious enough for this, who only cares about themselves, who's petty. These things are actually a really interesting component of leveling together, of playing the game together, raiding together, doing dungeons together. You learn a lot about each other. And once you overcome that, you understand who your great friends are in the world. And even in real life, like I said, it's the same thing. I have had so many stronger friendships in game than I have in real life. And it's because I don't do anything with my real life friends that ever requires like serious bonding. We just drink beer or watch sports or talk about video games, stuff like that. It's like we've never been through anything that would alter the fabric of our relationship. So when you raid weekly, not even daily, but weekly with these people, it's really crazy how strong of friendships they become and how quickly things progress from just casual guy that I've never played a video game with before to now some guy that I'm talking to every single week. We're working together to beat this content that we'd never be able to do by ourselves. All right, time for some closing statements, because this is really a public service announcement as much as it is a top 5 list. And I really want you guys to get into this with me. Like I'm willing to do anything it takes to help this games community progress towards a more serious mindset. It's really what the game is for. And since so many people refuse to take it serious and have such a casual approach, I'm just interested in doing anything I can. So a few more points here to bring up. This is not a sport we're talking about here, guys. This is not a career that you're forging. This is not some intense physical activity that your body is demanded of. All you need to do is just log on and play a video game a few hours a week. It does not take 40 hours. Those of you guys who say, I don't even want to hear this, right? Anybody who says they don't have enough time for mythic progression, you don't have enough time to watch this video then. You've just wasted more time than you have, because there is no way that you should not have enough time for mythic progression if you play this game at all. We raid 8 hours a week, and that is that. And once you have the mindset and the team around you, it takes even less time. Like, obviously, while you're incorporating these and gearing up and, Legion's launching, all these things, like, you're going to have to spend a lot of time. So no doubt about that. But in the long run, it requires almost no time compared to, like, if anybody has a real job or anything stopping them from playing the game. It's less than one work day a week of what you need to put in. So in the time we have been raiding for these 8 hours, which has been almost 8 years now since beginning of ICC, I have made friendships that literally are stronger than anything else, and I never expected it. You know what I mean? You never expect this when you're playing a game. I think, yeah, it's whatever, they're just people, but yeah, once you spend this much time with this many people, it really becomes more than that. And it's at the point now where there's 5 or 6 of us that if any of them quit, it would be such a huge blow to our group that it would be almost something you just can't recover from. But we all understand that, we're all very close friends, and that's why we continue to play the game. So because of this, it's the sole reason that I will never quit this video game. Like I said, unless every single one of them quit or die or just something happens, or they take raiding out of the game, something like that. There's just absolutely no, like, first of all, I can't quit. I'm the guild master of a guild that raids weekly. What's going to happen if I quit? You know what I mean? I'm going to take 4 days off, something like that. When you raid weekly with your best friends, there's nothing to quit for. That you would have to quit raiding and quit hanging out with your friends. Who's going to do that? You know what I mean? It's going to take a very monumental shift in the game or my life, I guess, for me to ever even consider stopping. So unless they do that to me, it's never going to happen. And then the final thing I want to point out here is that you should want to be the best you can be. You're a growing adult forging hopefully a family and a lifestyle and a career. You want to be the best you can be for those situations, right? So you're paying to play a video game and you don't want to do that there either. I don't know. It just seems so backwards to me. Like I'm not hyper competitive. I'm not somebody who like looks at rocks and tries to crush them. You know what I mean? Like it's not in my ingrained lifestyle. But when I'm playing this game, I want to have fun and I want to get better at it. And I want to be at the point where everybody around me is better because of it. So why aren't you that way? I'm seriously asking that question. I want to know the answer. I would love to see your comments about this, guys. Tell me, what is stopping you from taking the next step, from becoming a mythic progression raider, even just a casual mythic progression raider like us? Like, you don't have to raid 8 days a week. You could raid on a light schedule. You can do mythic dungeons. It doesn't matter. There's so much affordability the game gives you. So if you just don't want to, like if your answer is, I don't want to do this, it's not fun, then you really should be asking yourself why you're playing this game. I always make the analogy, it's like buying the FIFA games and then saying I don't enjoy playing football, right? Soccer, whatever. It's like, why? Then why did you buy it? You know, what was the purpose behind this? And why do you actually enjoy it? Like what have you enjoyed in the past? And I think a lot of people are going to say things like they have fond memories about social times that they had in the past. Well, guys, this is how you do it. You were lucky enough to experience those social things outside of this, but this is the 99 percentile here. This is how you become friends with humans. You have to actually play things, do things, spend time with them, all right? So anyone who doesn't raid weekly with a group of friends and then quits because, quote unquote, there is nothing to do in the game is really selling themselves short on my book. And I would say, I really hope you guys take a look at this. If you have any questions or anything you want to discuss, let me know, because this is the reason World of Warcraft is the greatest video game I have ever played and ever will play. It is not because Blizzard, okay? It is because the people who play the game and I have played with. So if you have any questions, like I said, let me know. Otherwise, we'll see you guys in the next video.